Sup, Kingslayers? This is Travis over at Kingslayer Games, and you're probably wondering what that big wall of champions is behind me, and I'm going to go over that here in a little bit. Few cool things I wanted to go over in today's video. Haven't done one in a while. We got a fake Force of Will in that I wanted to highlight because it's one of the best counterfeits I've seen, and I think it's good to educate people. The last video I did about the fake Lotus got some traction, and people were really stoked about that, so I wanted to keep that going, keep that as maybe a recurring theme, just to educate the masses on some of the counterfeit cards that we're seeing in the industry. So I'm going to touch on that. Also, I want to go over our business model. There's a couple videos going around about other stores talking about ways that they focus on Magic or board games or game store items, and I wanted to go over the way that we do it because I think it's pretty good, and compare that with, you can compare that if you're a store owner, or you can think about your local game store, see if they're doing some of the things that we're doing. If they're doing something great that we're missing out on, please let me know. We always want to get better. And then also I'm going to give you a quick tour of our layout, some of the products that do really well for us, and give just a tour of the store behind the scenes, and it should be a lot of fun. So first thing I'm going to do is hop into our fake Force of Will, counterfeiting, how to tell all that stuff out. So thanks for checking it out. Alright, so we've got 4 Force of Wills here. One's real, one's fake, and the other are real. At least I hope so. And this card was brought in by one of our legacy players. He had actually picked this up in GP Vegas and then everyone in the room was like, "Oh, what dealer did you get it from?" And it turned out he traded for it in Vegas, and so it doesn't have the person's name that traded him the card. But at least he was able to provide it, let me borrow it for a little while and get some feedback on it and do a video and kind of highlight it. So anyway, so here's the backs of all 4 of our cards. Obviously one stands out, just from the image. This one's LP, the others are near mint, but this is in fact actually the fake card. So we're going to go in and do some scans here, or zoom in and look through a loop and check the ink patterning. The one thing that's really amazing about this card is not only the color matching is great, but they got the ink pattern right with the second layer of ink, and that's why I think it really stands out from the other counterfeits that we've seen before. So I'm gonna go ahead and touch on that now. All right, so moving in here, we have a real Force of Will, at least we hope so, and we're gonna come in and look at the ink pattern here on the card. I'm actually gonna switch the light on. So as you can see, we've got ink pattern. We got black ink on top of the other ink, which is great. Look at our mana symbol. Same thing, we've got the rosettes, we've got the black ink. Everything looks fine, especially on the right. You can see the rosettes look quite good. So everything's great on this card. I'm not going to test the other 3 that I know are real, but let's look at our counterfeit card. So we're going to come and look at the text. And look at that. So we've got a separate layer of ink. One thing is that that second layer, the black, looks like it's actually wearing off, which is odd. Still, if I was to look at this card and know it was fake, I would probably honestly give this thing a pass by looking at just the straight ink patterns. Let's come look at the top here. This is job well done. Now, does it match the other card? Not really. If you have one side by side, they don't really match in terms of ink patterns, but they look pretty darn good. It looks close enough to feel like an authentic card. Now, when you feel this card, the texture, it does feel a little waxy, but not anywhere near as bad as some of the other counterfeit ones that I've seen before. The one that this really, the test that this does fail is our light test. And we're going to do an example of that just with a simple, having another phone handy, basically gets you there. So I'm gonna go to our flashlight, swap this thing down. We're going to first look at this is better to do in a dark room, but the point works here. So this is our authentic card. Light goes through at a pretty normal consistency, goes through pretty well. Let's look at our other real ones. Light test, travels through the card pretty well. And our last authentic card here, light goes through fine. So next, if we look at our counterfeit card, go to the light test, and we are not getting as much light. You can just see that it's It's about 50%, if not less, in terms of the amount of light that's able to shine through from like a normal LED light. And you can do this test on your phone. I mean, it's nice to have a card, the same card that you know is real, to compare side by side, but there's just more light going through the authentic cards than the counterfeit one. So that's our test of the Force of Will. This thing's pretty incredible. If it was sleeved up in a tournament, I doubt anyone would have any questions. The coloring's fine, texture's fine, feels fine, bend test fine. It's really, you know, if you're nitpicking and you look at the colors at the back of the card, they're slightly different, but in alliances that just kind of happens anyways. But yeah, anyways, this is the coolest counterfeit I've seen. It's scary that these are out there, but you know, I still haven't found a card that's been able to pass all the tests. I guess you wouldn't, because you just call it authentic. But here's our fake Force of Will. Next, I'm gonna hop into the overview of our store and our business model. So with the overview of the store, I'll start at the front. So you walk in our store, the first thing that you're gonna see on the left is this wall of board games. So we've got basically the top, we try to get the top 40 to 50 games that are on Board Game Geek any given time, just to have some popular options for people that are, you know, maybe not card gamers, that might be into just board gaming, tabletop gaming, some more casual play. We also have Settlers of Catan over here, some Game of Thrones stuff for flavor, since, you know, Kingslayer games and all that. Pretty standard stuff for board game selection, but it's nice to get some of the more unique titles in here as well. The board games, the nice thing about having these is it gives our Magic players another option to use their store credit on. So, you know, a lot of stores, that's a struggle. They may not have the singles that a Legacy player wants. They may not have the dual lands or something, but you know, if they can use their store credit towards an $80 board game, they can play with their friends or their family. That gives another option. So kind of a fun perk about the store. So that's the board game selection. Over here we've got, you know, a slew of Dragon Shield sleeves and other accessories on our first little 4-foot section here, and some other miscellaneous stuff. Here's our messy kitchen. Keep all of our snacks and stuff back there. We do have a pretty standard issue restroom. Oh, turn the light off. So there you go. Try to keep that clean as much as we can. And heading back over here, we got our main floor space. The next section, we have a fridge, special Magic the Gathering fridge. In here, we've got standard stuff that has a pretty long shelf life. So cheese and Lunchables and hummus and just drinks and sodas, that sort of thing. Next 4-foot section, we've got dice bags, sleeves, things of that nature. We got the clip sleeves, got fun little foam dice. Over here is where we have our little section of binders, more dice, and Pokemon sealed product, things of that nature. And the Wall of Champions. So the wall was invented by Jose, who's over here working really hard. And basically the idea behind it was, let's incentivize people in an additional way besides pricing, or in addition to pricing, to play in our weekly events. So we have, these are all the events that we hold. So, you know, we do Star Wars Destiny, we do Pokemon, Modern, Commander, Draft, Standard, and Legacy. A couple nights a week for each of these. So Standard was twice a week, Draft is twice a week. And basically, if you go 3-0 or 4-0, you get a sticker on the wall, and then you're on the wall, and it's fun watching the players take pride in that and fight over it. There's no additional crazy incentive, like they can. There's no other monetary value to it other than just being on the wall for the season. So this season started with Hour of Devastation, and we'll rip this down, or maybe just put another one up next to it over here for Ixalan when that comes out. Got some bulk cards, commons, junk, stuff I need to get rid of. Next snack section, where we're super big on snacks here. We got our energy drinks, Slim Jim, candy, more candy, cookies. Pretty standard issue snack bar. Then we have sealed product on the wall over here, standard, dual decks, all that fun stuff. And then we have our setup, which we just changed shelving on for our singles. So we put our higher end sealed stuff back there. We have Destiny, Final Fantasy, and then all of our sets are separated in a box there, sorted by color, not necessarily alphabetical. And yeah, that's basically it. Front end, we just have a register. We use Crystal Commerce for our system, and we have one case, which it'd be nice to have another case, but what we end up doing is putting all of any cards over $10 in the binder here for people to sift through. And yeah, back end here is pretty dumpy. my life just feels like stacks and stacks and stacks of Magic cards falling on top of me all the time. And that's pretty much it. So there's the tour part, and then the last part, or next part here is going to be our business model. All right, for the last part of our video today, I wanted to go over our store's business model, kind of an overview, and I guess a mission statement type segment, if you will. A lot of stores do things differently, and I thought this would be fun to highlight kind of what we do. So there's some stores or companies, if you will, personalities in the Magic industry have different business models. They might be YouTube personalities, or they might there's obviously the big guys like Star City and Card Kingdom and those of the like, and they all have different models. They all started at different points, and a lot of them started off as stores and grew into these kind of large entities in the community, and some started off as just personalities, and then now they're also selling product or building store locations. And our model started 3 years ago. What it is today is essentially two things. So 50% of our business ish comes from the secondary market of buying and selling singles. So that's obviously, everyone really participates in that part. Goes with the territory of being a Magic store. You have to be buying and selling. And then I think a key for any store is how do you acquire cards efficiently, and that's a huge part of our business model, is being able to purchase cards for Modern, for Legacy, Standard, Commander, and having fresh inventory coming in and out of your store. So that's super important, and that you can't miss that, must happen. The second part, and what I think is most important, is the community aspect. I talk about this with all of my customers when they come in. It's the hardest part, because it takes strong ownership. It takes a good team that's willing to day in and day out engage your customers and be friendly and outgoing and interactive and participate and all that. And I think for me, obviously I'm the owner, so being engaged is really huge, and making sure that your customers that come in the door know how much you appreciate them and how important they are to you. Some owners don't play Magic. I do. I didn't play Magic before I started the business. I never intended to start a Magic store. It kind of devolved or evolved into that. But I play now. I enjoy the game a lot. I used to play a lot of Hearthstone, a lot of 1v1 competitive online games, and Magic really slides right in there for me as a competitive game, giving you that 1v1 ability to crush your opponent. Is super exciting. So I play in a few store events a week, and I play with our competitive group as well. So we've developed a really awesome group of probably 30 players, 30 players in Orange County that go to PPGQs and compete regularly. And I kind of got my way in with them, and we do a lot of events here. They support a lot of our local events throughout the course of the week. And for me, it works out really well to participate in that. It takes more time for sure, and I have a family and kids, so I can't go to all the PPTQs or GPs every weekend. But for me, I think it's important because it shows, one, I love the game. Two, the game's kind of my life at this point. And three, it shows the community that I'm not just purely in it for self-serving interests and just for the money, but I am also alongside them. And it's not faking it or it's not some big scheme that I'm tricking people into thinking I love the game. I really do, and I live this game and this industry, and I love that competitive side too. Not all owners will play for good reason. Sometimes it's just too busy; it doesn't fit their lifestyle. Sometimes it's just not. They don't have the time to do it. But yeah, I think that's big. So community's huge. Fostering that, really telling your players how important they are to you, because they are. I mean. If I didn't have the community and the players here and loving the store supporting me, we'd go out of business and I'd have to find new work to support my family. So they're literally the most important thing in the world to my livelihood. So making sure your customers know that. Under that community part, safety and comfort is big, cleanliness, all that stuff that I've talked about before. But really protecting the store environment and making it a safe place for people to play, learn to play, hang out with their friends. And protecting against abrasive behavior is super important, just because you need to kind of keep your community feeling comfortable and safe at all times. That's pretty much it. So the nice thing about the community part is the bigger you grow your community as a store, and the more people that are playing in your weekly events, the more people that are buying and selling singles. So it completely supports that the overview of our business model is handling and buying and selling in the secondary market, and then having a strong community at home, and they both really nicely feed into each other. And I think if you don't do both of them really well, you're going to have a really hard time in the industry. So that's our business model. Some places focus on selling hundreds of cases on eBay, or sealed product online, all sorts of different ways that they find to be profitable, and that's great. But for me, I think it's making sure that the people that spend the time coming to your location feel awesome and have a great time, because they are, is huge. So that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching. I'll look to get another one of these up within the next week or so. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.